Hey, welcome back. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Betsy. I have a very rare autoimmune disease called Wegener's granulomatosis. If you are not new to my channel, this video may be something that you've have seen similar videos kind of about, pieced together here and there. This is going to be just one video talking about it. I am doing a video for my son Parker. He goes to school at the Job Corps in Reno. He is studying to do pharmacy tech work. And so he is doing a study on diseases, and he chose autoimmune because he knew I have autoimmune issues. And so I'm just going to talk a little bit about Wegener's and what happened prior to getting it, when I was diagnosed, life afterwards, and then just, what's gone on with me since I was diagnosed. So we'll just roll on back to October of 2018. I was perfectly healthy. I was living a good life. I had a great job. I had a wonderful career. I loved what I did. I was an office manager for a trucking company. It was a lot of work, a lot of stress, but I absolutely loved what I did. I started feeling really kind of bad towards the end of October, around Halloween. I just started feeling weak and tired and really nauseated, lack of appetite, which was unusual for me. I had like a weird sensation in my throat, and I felt like when I swallowed, food would just sit there. And I also noticed that I started getting these sores on my leg. And I will be honest with you, at the time I had tanned off and on. Not a great deal, but I would like to get like a nice base tan for the summer. And I kept thinking, oh my gosh, I probably got skin cancer, because that's how my mind works. And so I noticed I just wasn't getting any better. So after about a week, I thought, well, I better go to the doctor. So I went to see my family practice doctor, and they said, oh, well, we think you have a viral infection that's going around. Let's give you a sinus cocktail shot, send you on your merry way. And I was like, oh, great, because I didn't get sick hardly ever. I can probably count on one hand how many times I've had an antibiotic in the last 30 years of my life. So, take the cocktail shot. I remember going to work the next day, telling my assistant, oh yeah, got the sinus cocktail shot, I should be feeling better. And I just wasn't feeling any better. She had told me to wait 2 weeks if I wasn't better, and 2 weeks to come back. Well, 2 weeks would have been Thanksgiving. So I went back the Monday before Thanksgiving, and I said, look, I'm not feeling any better. It's progressively gotten worse. I don't know what's wrong with me. And so they did some lab work, and she said, oh, well, your white cell count is elevated. So you've obviously got an infection. Let's get you an antibiotic, and that should take care of it. Great. So they put me on an antibiotic. I started it Monday night. Thursday was Thanksgiving. I remember being really, really, really tired that day and just feeling really bad. And I made a pie and a casserole. And I remember that took all I could do to even get that done. And so I ended up going to Thanksgiving. We did Thanksgiving with some friends, and I remember not eating hardly anything. If you know me, I love Thanksgiving. That's like my favorite meal. I just love Thanksgiving. And I remember barely even picking at my food, which, was not my norm. And I remember saying, I'm ready to go home. And I really like to visit and socialize, and I just wasn't feeling it. We didn't stay a whole long time. And we got home, and the next day, my ex-husband was gone all day. And that night, I remember laying on the couch, and I was talking to a friend on Messenger. She was asking me, I can vividly remember this, asking me how I made my pie. So I remember giving her the recipe, and I can remember laying there thinking, man, I feel really bad. I really think I might need to call an ambulance. And I thought, no, let me see how I feel in the morning, and then we'll go from there. So I remember going to bed and telling my son Parker, I said, Parker, I don't feel good. If I'm not better in the morning, I'm going to have Dad take me to the emergency room. And I remember thinking, well, maybe I have mono, because I had a boyfriend who had mono back when I was in my late teens, early 20s, and he had a lot of the same symptoms. The nausea, the vomiting, just feeling really bad, just being really weak. And I thought, well, maybe I caught mono. So I went to bed. The next morning I woke up, I felt even worse, and I can remember crying because I was throwing up and I just felt horrible. I've never felt that bad in my life. And I remember, getting a shower, and we're driving to the hospital to go to the emergency room, and we're talking about how blessed our life has been and how things have been going so well for us. And we get to the ER and they bring me back, and I am like, okay, they do some lab work and they come back in, and I swear if you'd hit me with a feather, I could have fallen over. The doctor said, well, we're going to have to admit you. You're in kidney failure. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, you're in kidney failure. We're going to have to admit you. I had no idea at the time how seriously sick I was. I wasn't comprehending kidney failure as being something terrible. I don't know why. I think I was in probably some shock. And I remember thinking, well, maybe I can go back to work Tuesday or Wednesday, because I probably need to keep me till Monday to figure out what's going on, because it's the weekend. And, mind you, I didn't miss work. I missed work one time in the last, previous to that, 6 or 7 years. I didn't call out. I came to work. And so I remember, they got me admitted, and I think it was either Sunday night or Monday. I can't remember for sure. They went ahead and did like a swallow barium test to figure out why I was having that sensation in my throat when I would swallow. They started doing wound care on my legs, because at this point those wounds have become ulcers, and they were huge, like $50 size. And I have scars on my legs. I call those my battle wounds. And not really knowing what's going on, and the nephrologist came in, I think it was on Monday, and said, well, we're going to take you down and we're going to do a biopsy on your kidney and see if we can figure out what's going on. We think you might have lupus, but there's one other thing we think you might have, so we want to rule that out. I was like, okay. So, I'm just thinking, okay, lupus, I've heard of lupus. I didn't understand what lupus was at the time. I didn't really understand autoimmune diseases in general. I had no reason to. I was healthy. And I didn't know anyone who had them. They don't run in my family as far as I know. And so I had gone down, had the biopsy done, and I think it was on a Monday. And by Monday night, I was in a shower and I started coughing up blood. And I remember thinking, why am I coughing up blood? And my lungs felt okay, and so I told them, I'm starting to cough up blood. And it was the next day that all these doctors file in, and the nephrologist is heading them up, and he looks at me and he says, you have a very rare autoimmune disease called Wegener's granulomatosis, or GPA vasculitis. It's granulomatosis with polyangiitis. It affects my vascular system, basically, the blood vessels. And so it attacked my kidneys severely. It attacked my lungs minorly. It can affect hearing, vision. A lot of people have nasal issues, throat problems. It can cause, joint issues. It can cause brain issues. So, I had a pretty severe case of it. Mine was pretty severe because of the severity of it. The route they took for treatment was to start me on 60 milligrams of prednisone a day. I don't know if you've ever taken prednisone for a week at a time or 10 days, when you've had like maybe an allergic reaction, or sometimes if you have some sort of infections, they'll give it to you. Well, 60 milligrams of prednisone is way, way higher than what you would normally ever get. And it just wreaked havoc on my body. They also had an oncologist in there, and she told me that they were going to start me on a chemotherapy called Cytoxin. I would do 10 rounds of it over the course of 6 months. And then also they were going to need to transfer me to another hospital in order to get what was called plasmapheresis, and that is plasma transfers. And the only hospital in the area that offered it was at Baptist East. At the time I lived in a suburb of Memphis. So that was a hospital in Memphis that I was transferred to. I went via ambulance. That night they put a vas cath in my chest, which is how they administered the plasmapheresis, and they also started me on dialysis. And so I did that. They were continuously doing the wound care. They had me hooked up to oxygen because my lungs were filling with blood. I was in a bad state. When I was admitted to the hospital on Saturday, I had 11% kidney function. I did not know that at the time. It dropped as low as 7%. I was not expected to survive. I was in the process of dying. My body was shutting down. I was told had I waited another 2 or 3 days, I would have died in my sleep because my body would have just quit working. So I began that journey. I spent a week in the ICU. I spent another week in a regular hospital room there. I spent a total of 17 days in the hospital. When I left as a miracle. I was not expected to survive. And when I left, I joked if I could get up and move, I was so weak I couldn't. I would dance. And number 2, I was a new man or a new woman because I got 18 units of plasma. I had 2 blood transfusions. So 20 random strangers helped save my life. I went home and I started doing dialysis 3 days a week. I was doing my chemotherapy. I was having to go to doctor's appointments. I was a mess. I was unable to take care of myself. I could barely walk. It got so bad that I couldn't even walk the 20 feet to get back to my dialysis chair. I had to ride in a wheelchair. I could not take a shower independently. I'd have my ex-husband in there because I was so weak that I felt like I was going to pass out immediately. I called showers Operation Torture. I would only shower once a week. One little fun fact, when you are on dialysis and your kidneys don't work and they're that bad, you don't sweat, and oftentimes you don't urinate. So I piddled a little bit in the mornings, a little bit at night. You're allowed 32 ounces of liquid a day when you're on dialysis. That includes any sort of soups, if you would drink coffee, whatever. Water, 32 ounces maximum. If you do use the bathroom, you can have a little bit more, but it was awful. I was sick from the chemo. I was sick from the dialysis. I dropped 60 pounds in 2 months. I joke it's a great way to lose weight. I wouldn't recommend it. I was on the prednisone at 60 milligrams. I started tapering down. I ended up going down to 10 milligrams a day in 2019. And it took me 3 years to go from 10 milligrams to 0. It took me a year to go from 10 actually to 0. I was on 10 milligrams for 2 years and then tapered. That last 10 milligrams took me a year. It was very, very difficult on my body. I've become accustomed to it and needed it. And so, so I will tell you just shortly what has happened to me since. I have since divorced. And after divorce, I remarried somebody I've known since I was 15. Fell in love. We moved to Illinois. The cold weather up there was very hard on my body. And so a year ago, we moved to Arizona. We now live in Arizona. This is the happiest place in the world. I was born here. I said my life has come full circle. I was born here. I was born 60 miles away in Tucson, and I'll die here. And I can't imagine living anywhere else. This is the best place in the world. The only thing I don't like about living here is I miss my children. But I can still see them. You have to plan things strategically. But anyhow, I have developed some other health issues since then. These are in no particular order. I have gastroparesis. I have what is called CIDP. It is a nerve damage. From my shoulders to my feet, I have fibromyalgia. I have lesions on my brain. I have memory issues. I'm in the process of being tested for some things, and once I know for sure what's going on with that, I will do an update video. I have osteoarthritis in my hips, my knees, and my lower back. I have arthritis in my shoulders. I have a frozen shoulder right now on the left side. I have carpal tunnel in my wrist, which has nothing to do with that. I think I've probably just had that from working at a computer for years. I have, let's see, I have lupus, I have Sjögren's syndrome, I have Hashimoto's, and I've had bilateral pulmonary embolisms almost 3 years ago. No, is that right? Almost 2 years ago, I guess it is. So yeah, I joke I'm Hot Mess Express. I don't do anything little. I go big or I go home. That all being said, I do live a quality life. My life is vastly different. I had to give up my career, but I do now work part-time. I have a part-time job working for an answering service that I do remotely from work or home. It's great. I work in the mornings. I'm done early. I have the rest of my day to piddle around the house. You know, I have a girlfriend here in town that I go visit. She's got a pool. I laugh and tell her all the time I only like her because she's got a pool, which is totally not the truth. But, you know, pretty soon we'll be able to go back swimming every day. You know, I live an active life. I tire easily. I have to cancel plans sometimes. I sometimes have to make last minute decisions. You know, sometimes I can grocery shop or go to Goodwill. I love thrifting. Or, you know, I may start out feeling really good and hit up, you know, a couple thrift stores and think, okay, well, I'm going to go to Walmart. And by the time I'm done with the first thrift store, I'm done. You know, I never know from day to day how I'm going to feel. I just recently got out of a flare. During that flare, I was really battling insomnia really bad. I was battling insomnia, but I was also exhausted. It's a weird mix. I was napping 2 times a day. I'm down to napping 1 time a day now because I'm kind of coming out of that flare. My pain was intensive during the flare. It has eased up. Now I do live in pain, chronic pain all the time. I don't take any sort of pain medication. I do take nerve medication, which is gabapentin. I'll tell you what I take right quick. I also have chronic kidney disease. I have stage 3A, which I now have 51% kidney function, which is amazing. I was never expected to ever get this well. But I take 2 different blood pressure medications. I take the gabapentin. I take Flexerol, is a muscle relaxer, which I take when I'm having particularly bad pain. I also have sciatica, and I have a tear in my L4 and my L5. So I have some lower back issues. I take Prozac. I joke Prozac is my best friend. It helps with the anxiety that I've always had, but it really was triggered worse when I got sick. I'm trying to think. I take metformin. I take Invokana, which are both diabetic medications. I take 2 different insulins. And I take folic acid, B12, and vitamin D3, which are all prescription strength. And I know I'm forgetting something. I don't remember off the top of my head. Anyways, I take about, I think I take about 22 pills a day, I think is what I take in total. Some of the medications I take twice a day. Some of them I take 3 times a day. But yeah, I am the Hot Mess Express. I am not cheap to keep alive. I take approximately $25,000 worth of medication per year. That is right. I take over $2,000 a month worth of medication. I am on Medicare, and I have a supplement because I am on SSDI. Chronic illnesses and invisible illnesses are just that. I don't look sick, I realize that, but I tell people all the time, it's not the outside of me that's sick, it's my insides that are literally trying to kill me. So just, you know, remember that. Take some compassion when you see somebody and you think, well, there's nothing wrong with them. Well, you don't know what's wrong with them. Just because they don't look sick doesn't mean they're not sick. You know, my body is the hot mess express. But I think that's about it for now. I wanted to keep this under 20 minutes. I'm going to go over just a little. But I hope you learned something. I hope this helps you have an understanding of autoimmune diseases, how they affect people. Everybody is affected differently. There's different strengths not the right word, different degrees of how bad things are for people. Mine goes up and down on how I'm feeling. So anyhow, yeah, I think that's about it for now. I do hope you guys have a great day, and don't forget, not every day is good, but there is always something good in every day, and I'll see you next time.